Today on our Doctor Who show, it's me. It's just me. Today we pose the question, did Doctor Who just go a little bit too far? Hey, and welcome to Paradox Does Stuff. Today we're breaking down Doctor Who Season 11, Episode 3, Rosa. This episode is, they're in 1955, I believe, and they go to see Rosa Parks unintentionally. But let's get to it! This episode was written by Chris Chibnall and Mallory Blackman, who is a child's book author. And she's actually really good. I believe she's British, and she does a lot of stuff I've read growing up as a child and in school and stuff. If you live in England, you know who she is. She's wonderful. First thing I'd like to talk about is the soundtrack. I've watched this episode twice now, and the soundtrack, it's good. It suits the episode really well. You've got this kind of really Captain America kind of theme for whenever Rose is on screen. And Rose is played by an actress called Vinette Robinson, who you may have seen in Sherlock. She played one of the police officers that doesn't really get on with Sherlock too well. I think it's Anderson. I think her name's Anderson. She's phenomenal in this, and I didn't actually pick up on that was her until I had to Google it, because I recognised her face, but I was like, I know your face, but like, whatever they've done, they've transformed you. She's transformed in a phenomenal way into Rosa Parks. It's quite a likeness, and she does pull the accent off quite well. I mean, as far as I can tell, I'm not actually an American citizen, nor have I ever been to America. However, I have seen it, obviously, in film and TV. I don't know how accurate that accent is to Montgomery or Alabama, but she did a good job, and she made me believe that she was Rosa Parks, and I think that's a good thing. Let's talk about the characters. This episode we have returning the Dr. Graham, Ryan, and yes, once again for me, Graham is the standout companion, with a lot more actually emphasis on Ryan this time. I think Ryan was actually had some of my favourite scenes in this episode. I especially like the scene where he's introduced to Martin Luther King by Rosa Parks, and he just can't believe what's happening. He's like over the moon, and he's like, I'm making coffee for Martin Luther King. My nan would love to see you here. And you know, you get these jokes about he's a pastor and all the older ladies like him and stuff, and that's funny. And then he kind of goes, yes, Martin Luther King, yes, Rosa Parks, and it just blew his mind, and that was really something special to watch, and he performed it quite well. Once again, Yaz is unfortunately pushed aside this episode, and I didn't think that was going to happen so much. You'd think with the historical accuracy that they've gone to in this episode, and sometimes, I mean, I'll touch on that later, but there's some things, but I thought maybe she'd have more of something to do in this episode. I don't know. It's a shame. I really want to see more of Yaz, because she has just kind of been this character who is here, and she'll occasionally tell you things about herself. What we know she doesn't necessarily get on with her family too well. We know now that she was kind of rebellious in school, and she would climb through windows to see guys she liked or whatever the heck, and that she has been discriminated against quite a lot. So it would be nice to kind of get more from her. Show, don't tell. Just show us this character existing and living. I want to believe her. I mean, I don't disbelieve that this character is, she's not necessarily one-dimensional, but just give us more, because if you can't balance this TARDIS team, Jodie, the Doctor, she was fantastic this episode, especially since the end of last episode where she gets the TARDIS back. I really feel her character's coming through, especially in her first interaction with the villain of this episode, whose name I've already forgotten. I don't actually know if it's mentioned, if it's Kragos, something like that, I think, I'm not too sure, where they meet on those water tank things, and they're just like eyeing each other up, and she's like, hey, I know this weapon, this is 79th century, and blah 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 blah, and this is where I thought the Jack Harkness thing was going to be a thing. I thought, you know, maybe this is what's going to happen. He knows Jack, he's got the vortex manipulator, there's a nice reference to Missy, cheap and nasty time travel and stuff. That was great, and she's really starting to be like, I'm getting that I'm the Doctor you don't want to piss me off kind of vibe, and that's fantastic seeing that come through. There was a couple of problems I had with this episode, which I'm going to go through now. These are mostly minor nitpicks because I actually really enjoy this episode. I think this is one of the more enjoyable episodes of the season we've seen so far. And there is only 3 episodes. They are longer, so you do feel like you've seen more Doctor Who than perhaps you would have episode 3 of a prior season. I like this episode quite a lot. I really like the banter between the cast. I really, really like the cast in this episode and the season episodes prior to it. They have some fantastic banter, and once again, Graham's one-liners are just all over the place. Zimmers. They are funny, and I like them. I like particularly a scene where they're in the motel, and the police officer comes in, and he's like, he's not fun because he's racist, and racism isn't really fun. And he's like, yo, gotta let you like people in here who aren't necessarily looking like me. And she's like, there's no one in here who doesn't have a right to be here. Which I thought was kind of, she's being subtle. She's like, I'm not telling you exactly no, but I'm not telling you exactly no either. I don't know if that made sense. It made sense in my head. I liked it because there was also a subtlety of anger coming out of her where she was just kind of like, listen motherfucker, y'all need to stop being racist because racism isn't fun. It sucks. And she said all this while just kind of saying, no one here who doesn't have a right to be here. I don't know why she didn't say it in that accent. I'm saying it in that accent, so just ignore me. Yeah, once again, the cinematography in the episode is flawless, and I think after 1 episode and 2 episodes, it is now safe to say this is what Doctor Who looks like going forward, and that brings such a smile on my face because there's some fantastic shots in every sweeping shot of a new location. There was a shot later where Ryan's in the street with Space Racers, as I think that's his name now, and the camera is kind of off center like this. Then it gradually does this kind of sweeping. That was really, really good, and the lighting once again, and the colors. This season just looks beautiful, and I've gone on about it a lot in episode 1 and 2. Go watch it. It just looks stunning. Like this is some serious cinematography that I don't think we've seen in Doctor Who. Maybe apart from like Day of the Doctor, and there was quite a good few shots I enjoyed. Twice Upon a Time, I think it's called. I wanted to mention another line. This is just for me, so I can get it out there and say, this was funny, I enjoyed this. The Doctor, is she Banksy? I like that. It's like, Banksy wouldn't need this, or does he? Or you know, it's funny, or do I? You know, I really liked that. And I also liked the invisible ink thing, and I wondered if that was a reference to the toys, because growing up I had a lot of toy sonic screwdrivers, and if you took the cap off the end, you could write invisible ink, and then you'd flash it with a screwdriver, and you'd see it. So I wonder if that's like a nice reference to the toys of my day and stuff, and that would be kind of neat if that was. I like that. Yeah, I was gonna ask this question, and I feel like there's an easy answer to it, but I'm gonna ask it just in case, because I've seen the episode twice, and I forgot which order this kind of goes in. So at some point in the episode, Space Racist, his weapon runs out of like juice or whatever. Prior to that, or even after that, I don't know if that takes place before or after he first encounters Rosa. He's kind of standing there with a toothpick, and he's like, yo, what's up? And she's like, yeah, well, you want to fucking fight me or something? You got a problem? He's like, no. And then he bugs off. I wonder whether that takes place, because I need to go watch this again, but if it takes place before his weapon runs out of juice, my question is, well, instead of going through this elaborate plan, which might not work because history and the universe is pretty damn powerful, why not just be like, oh, look, there she is. Beep. Wipe her back in time to wherever, transport her. At literally the first chance you get, instead of dossing about in 1955 in like your Elvis cosplay, waiting to do it at the exact moment. Maybe he's too poetic. Maybe he's, I don't know. But he comes across as pretty crazy, so you'd think he'd just go, okay, bang, and she's gone. Sure, I mean, like I said, if if it's in the comments, great, I messed up, but it's just how it took place in my head the last time I watched it, so please give me a chance. Okay, now we're going to touch on some of the more darker themes of this episode, because this episode doesn't pull any punches. There's subtlety in Doctor Who seasons 1 to 10, and I think there's a few small rare occasions where it is literally in your face. This person is a racist piece of crap, right? This episode doesn't do it subtly. It doesn't like make you think about it. It just says, look at that. There he is. There's a racist human being. There he is, right there. Yeah. I don't even have to point. Look at that. There he is, racist. And I was wondering, and this is up for debate, because it is, I think this is good that it's got us talking about it. Did they go a little bit too far with their use of racial slurs? Bearing in mind it's a show for children, essentially, like, we've grown up with it, we're now adults. But when I first watched Doctor Who in 2005, I was 8. I don't know if as an 8-year-old whether I would be able to cope with that kind of episode. I'm not a kid now, so I don't know. Maybe kids are tougher than I was back then. But I'd probably cry. I'd be like, God, why are people so mean? I just don't get it. Like, that's how I'd probably react. So I don't know. I'm wondering if there's going to be talks about, did they go too far and this kind of stuff. Because it is powerful, and it's, it's historically accurate, and that's something I'm going to give them 100% credit for, and take my hat off. Actually, I'm not, because my hair sucks. But the historical accuracy, great. Like, you're not hiding it. This is how it happened. This is what people were unfortunately like. I mean, I don't, not everyone was like this. There was a lot of people helping and allies, I believe, but a mass people in America, especially the South, unfortunately, this is just the case. And it is history, and I believe this episode aired on Black History Month, so it is incredibly relevant. But I just wonder if they went too far, and perhaps if there was a softer approach to how to do this. But, it's all up for debate. So please, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you handled it, how you would feel as a parent, or, if you get a handle as a child. I definitely cry, but, it's all up for debate. Let's start a conversation. Okay, let's move on to the bus situation. The first thing I would like to say is, I am so happy that the TARDIS team don't have a direct hand, let me finish, in the bus incident. Nothing they personally do is the reason why Rosa Parks gets up and says, do something. They're not the reason. They didn't be like, hey Rosa, man, don't have that. All this kind of stuff which TARDIS teams tend to do, and they go, oh, I guess that was our fault all along, that we did this historical event. We're the heroes, I mean, they have a hand in it in as much as Graham becomes the passenger who there isn't enough seats for, prompting her to have to stand up. So kind of, but there was no kind of suggesting to Rosa that this is what she'd have to do, and I think if they did that, that'll be taking away from how powerful that was of a moment in history, especially for a hero to so many people like Rosa Parks. I'm glad that they didn't try and rewrite that. I mean, it's not life canon, but watching shows as kids and stuff, you get an idea of how things work from what you're watching. So if you're watching it as a kid, you might kind of go, oh yeah, all those lovely people around her were telling her to do this and telling her not to back down, or whereas it's so much more powerful if one day she just went, I've had enough, dude. No, my legs hurt. I'm sitting in this chair. Do something. You know what I mean? I hope I'm making sense. If there was more people here, I'd be able to bounce off of them when we talk. Unfortunately, one is ill, and the other two, they suck. Hope you're watching this. You suck. I'd like to touch again on the soundtrack before I move on to final thoughts and stuff like that. It looks like at this point the soundtrack is going to be different for every episode, and I'm still not noticing any reoccurring themes. Rosa technically, I think, gets a theme, that very Captain America theme kind of thing. But then you get to the end of the episode, and instead of having this theme that we've known through the last 3 episodes that maybe is more powerful now that we know it. When she gets up, they don't play her theme, but she has a theme now. Rosa Parks has a theme in Doctor Who. I bet if I go to YouTube and type Rosa Parks theme Doctor Who, it will come up. They play some kind of pop song by Sia, I think, I'm not sure. And I think that was incredibly lazy. I think that was so lazy. You know, everything else you're doing is fantastic, but I am a big soundtrack guy. I love soundtracks, so if I'm not getting a decent soundtrack, it bothers me quite a bit. I need that soundtrack in my life. I need it. So please do something about this. I don't know if it's too late to fix it in this season. You know, perhaps it is. Next season, I want some character themes and motifs. I want a Graham theme. I want a Ryan theme. I want a Yaz theme. I want more screen time for Yaz on top of that, and then give me a Doctor's theme that I can bloody recognise. Although I think there is kind of a Doctor's theme now, but I'm trying to listen to it. I still don't hear it yet. But I think Adam said, oh no, she's kind of got a theme now. Sorry, I got really gassy today. So that's good. Keep that up. And give me more. Give me a soundtrack. Give me consistency. I need this. Please, thank you, because I will be listening to it. Yeah, give me a decent soundtrack. Another moment I really liked was Graham really kind of not wanting to be a part of it. At the end, when he's like, no, I don't want to be the guy whose seat that needs to be, or whatever. I don't want to be here. No, I don't want to be a part of this. And you could really feel his kind of, oh man, this hurts. Damn, this isn't fun for me. And the Doctor, you know, having travelled and done all this stuff before, you can see the Doctor's a little bit more experienced and copes a bit better with it. You know, she knows about don't interfere and all these kind of rules. I mean, the Doctor doesn't always adhere to those rules, but she understands how they work, and it's hard, but you have to do it. Whereas Graham, man, that hurt, man. I don't like seeing... I'm sick of seeing sad Graham. Stop doing this to me, Doctor Who writers, please. Just want him to see him happy. Another good thing, Graham and Ryan's bond this show, it's really growing, and it's really fun to watch. Like, they're really... That bond is happening, and their chemistry is fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to watching that grow more, because they're doing a great job with that. Those two characters. Good job, keep it up. Yeah, so the villain, he was pretty whack. He was pretty whack. I think the reason I like this episode so much is the bonds between the characters and their chemistry. But the villain was whack. I would like to know more about him though, because I would like to know how he knew immediately that the police box was the TARDIS, and how he knew to knock and ask these questions. And he's from Stormcage, so maybe he knows River Song or sort of Vortex manipulator. I think she was from 50th century in 79. Jack Harkness is like, you know, I don't think the time periods are completely correct, but time travel is a thing, so I would like to know more. He was really kind of one-dimensional, and I think that's a problem we're going to kind of have over this season, where all the villains are, you know, standalone, apart from, I think it's called the Stenza. I wonder if that's a part of it too. I don't know necessarily that I liked... I don't know, he was just pretty whack. His motivation was, let me shoot her back in time, because in the 79th century, we're all still racist, and we're not... That, you know, this is still a problem in the 79th century, which I don't know that it will be, to be honest, because I think by the 79th century comes around, I think we're out in the stars doing other shit, dude. Especially if it's Doctor Who, especially in Doctor Who. I think humans have evolved past that at that point. And luckily, you know, because of events like Rosa Parks, we are evolving past it, and that's beautiful. So I don't know if that is going to be a problem in the 79th century, or maybe he's just that one loose cannon who's like, do you know what? No, I don't like these people, and I'm going to do something about it. Who knows? I've seen some people saying this is the worst episode of the season and blah blah blah. And it's like, you haven't seen the rest of the season yet. Make that judgment after. I mean, I'm saying I enjoyed it with the most 3 episodes so far, but that's so far. So give the rest of the season a chance and stop being a little bitch. But there it is. Yes, episode is a touch late, you know, as it is. But I'll see you next week. Hopefully we've got a crowd back. On top of that, we will be streaming our next review live from MCM Expo, where we'll be filming episode 6. Before you watch that, please go ahead and watch MCM Expo episode 5. If you like this video, please give it a like. Maybe you consider subscribing. I'll be here every week, even if I've got no cast. I'll still be here. I'll keep you company and word talks on Doctor Who. I'll be here every week doing that, and I'm also doing top 10s and trailer breakdowns, and then MCM Expo episode 6. So look forward to that. I'm not looking forward to next week's episode because it involves spiders, and I'm a huge arachnophobe. There it is. I think I said there it is a lot, but there it is. I'll see you next week. You're very beautiful. Thanks so much. Bye.